Welcome back to the Breaker Bros, and this is our instant reaction to the Bengals 41-24 victory over the Raiders. And to me, it was just a great team home win, the first team, or I guess the first home win of the year. But it kind of started off kind of sluggish. First couple of series, well, the Raiders scored on their first drive, but after that, I mean, it just seemed like the Bengals were in control. The Bengals offense basically scored their first 4 real possessions because I think they got 2 touchdowns and a field goal in the first half. And I felt like most of their drives early on were like 5 minutes or more, which was pretty impressive. But yeah, and then just in the second half, it kind of unraveled. And the defense played pretty physical. It seemed like they caused a lot of injuries. I mean, we don't want to see injuries, but I mean, for me, there was a noticeable difference in they were playing with intent. But what was your initial thoughts?
I guess lucky that we played the Raiders. I think the Raiders that's probably the worst team the Bengals have played all year, and that's saying something. It's just, I guess, for however bad I thought the Bengals were doing, Raiders fans are suffering even worse than we are. That's a poorly coached team, a lot of injuries. So, good day to be playing them.
Yeah, I guess speaking of Gesicki, do you want to apologize to him or
for what?
He had a pretty good game today.
Yeah, I guess.
Hendrickson had a great game.
Hendrickson had a great game. I mean, I felt bad for Desmond Ridder. I feel like Hendrickson just beat the crap out of him. I mean, I think the only person that got hit worse than Desmond Ridder today was our guy Trenton Irwin, man. That guy was just getting crushed all game, man.
Well, that passer roughing the passer call against Crosby.
Mm-hmm.
When he like jumps off sides and then they call the play dead and then it's like a free hit on Burrow.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a little chippy. I mean, it would be nice. I don't know. I guess I have it in my head that we were going to trade for him. I know that wasn't like a realistic possibility, but I keep thinking about it. So,
well, more likely with this win, and especially with the Giants' loss. Well, I'm assuming they lost. It feels like there could be a trade, and I almost feel like, and this might be an unpopular opinion, but I almost feel like I would rather trade for a corner than a defensive lineman. Like if we had to pick one between the two, and there's been several confirmed reports that the Bengals are looking to get either a defensive lineman or a cornerback, or maybe both. I mean, you never know. Maybe they get 2. But if we could get one of the two, then I feel like a corner, because I heard Lattimore, I think, and I feel like that would make a lot of sense too. Oh gosh, yeah. What happened? What are they saying? ACL.
It says worry for ACL tear again on right knee. Original injury October 2023. So I guess that's something else to talk about. The Eric Hall injury. I mean,
that's rough.
The only thing I've learned medically from watching football is that usually if guys have like a knee injury with it where it's non-contact, that's usually a bad sign.
Yeah,
so that's a tough break because I mean.
He was a difference maker.
He was a difference maker. We were really high on him. He was rookie too. I mean, for how well he was playing as a rookie, it's
well, it's kind of crazy because
really
I felt like at this point of the year is when I thought he would kind of start playing, but it felt like he came back kind of quick. But I mean, obviously he cleared all the medical evaluations. It's just one of those things where I mean, hopefully it's not as serious as what it looks and. I mean, if it is, and then hopefully he's got plenty of time to make it back next year. But who knows? I mean, we don't really know until they do more tests. But I mean, it just sucks. But I mean, in general, the game it just felt like after the first couple of series, the Bengals were pretty much in control the whole time. I was pretty impressed with the defensive line play. They played really physical. They were pushing the pocket. And the weird part, and again, the PFF grades, whatever you feel. I mean, their offensive line was, it seemed like, consistent across the board. I think their general weakness was their guards. But man, Hendrickson just there were several injuries too.
Yeah, I mean, like all their tackles got hurt, and some of their guards got hurt. I mean, they said that at one point during the game they'd lost 5 offensive linemen.
That's crazy. So, but is that because the Bengals were playing physical?
Partially, but I mean, a lot of those sacks came against the whole defensive line thing. You got to take with a grain of salt because, like, the Raiders didn't have their best players in when the Bengals were really dominating, so it's hard to really say. But
yeah, even on the other side of the ball, and I think really again, Burrow had a great game. Obviously, the silly pick 6. I think that was more a flawed play design. I just shout out to the DB for recognizing it and getting that pick 6. But I mean, outside of that, he played really well. But I think really the difference maker was Chase Brown, and he had so many explosive plays, and it just seemed like he ran the ball really well. He had over 100 yards rushing the ball, and then total yards, I think he had close to 140 because he had about 40 yards receiving. And he had that receiving touchdown and on the first drive. But yeah, it was just like, that's what happens when you can expose one of their weaknesses, which I think was their run defense. And the Bengals did that, and Chase Brown looked really effective today. So shout out to him.
Yeah. So do you know what happened with Jermaine Burton?
I think he may have missed a walkthrough or something like that. He was either late or missed it, and yeah. So they decided.
I thought I saw something on the internet that said he showed up to the game in pajamas or something.
No, I think that. No.
Yeah.
I mean.
Okay. I didn't research it. Maybe.
I saw because I saw the videos of him walking in, because when they showed footage of it, people assumed that he was gonna be active.
Yeah.
He was just wearing like those. I don't know if it's considered. I'm gonna mess this up. I want to say fleece, but it's like the patches. I mean, I could see why you would think they were pajama pants, but I don't know. I think it's just kind of like the fashion or whatever.
Okay.
I don't know, but like, I mean, speaking of that, with Burton inactive, with Jamar Chase not necessarily having a big game, I think he's a big part of the offense, because I'm fairly confident they probably doubled him the majority of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But without Higgins and Burton, Burrow still had a really good game. He had 5 touchdowns. I think the tight ends early on or throughout the game exposed things, and he spread the ball around.
I thought there was something going on with the 3 tight end look. I liked it. It was interesting. They ran a couple plays with 3 tight ends, and I'd be interesting to see if they can build off of that with playing that number of tight ends.
Well, I mean, they're going to have to. I mean, well, not necessarily. I mean, I'm assuming.
I hope not.
I'm hoping.
I mean, can we get Burton an alarm clock or something? I mean, that guy needs to play. Like I've been saying,
definitely needs to play.
He's a 3rd round pick. I mean,
he's explosive. I mean, it's obvious. It's just, it's.
I mean, can't you? It's just so frustrating.
I guess it's a discipline issue.
Yeah.
With him, because, but I mean, obviously his ability's there, and he plays really well.
Mm-hmm.
But and I think really, I mean, the expectations for him shouldn't be that high. Like, we still have Higgins. I mean, we could do a lot. And then, with our tight end situation, it seems like at the very least, All is probably going to go to the IR. I don't know if he's going to be able to return this year. We don't know. But we still have that other tight end that we draft that is also like a receiving tight end. That's partly why we kept Hudson. So like Hudson and Kaseki and Burton whenever he figures things out, and even Yoshi, we can kind of rotate them in and out, just depending on which week we're in, right? With whatever defensive looks that we're gonna get, they can be like the third option. I mean, obviously, if Higgins is out or maybe Chase is out for a long term, then that changes a lot of things. But I mean, with the way it is right now, I mean, we still have Chase and Higgins, and I feel like with today's game, they beat a lot of narratives. And the one thing that the Raiders are actually pretty decent at, and what I was looking at before the game, is that their pass defense is pretty decent. So like, for them to be able to spread the ball around on offense and get Burrow with 5 touchdowns, I think Gesicki had 2, but with 4 different receivers, Brown, Yoshi, Gesicki had 2, and then I'm missing one. Who was the 4th receiver that got the?
You say Chase Brown?
Yeah. Chase Brown had the first one. Gesicki had 2. Yoshi had 1. And then
the other tight end,
Sample
blocking guy.
Sample. That's right. So I hate to say it, but he's like, the way he plays is kind of forgettable. But nonetheless, he got the touchdown. Shout out to Sample. But
I like them throwing it to him every once in a while. I mean,
I like him.
If he's
an incredible blocker,
yards,
so like he's perfect for what the Bengals need. And he's like a guy. If he's our tight end 2 or 3, like he's perfect. It's not like. Because we still have Gesicki, and then I still like that McLaughlin. I think that's his name, right? Or the other tight end that we drafted.
I mean, how can you like him? I've never seen him play.
Well, he did a little bit in preseason, and then just his like highlights that we were able to see. I mean, I could see like he's kind of like the mold of Tanner Hudson, where he's I think more of a receiving tight end. And I mean, he's like 6'4", maybe 6'5". He's got like that what you would want in a tight end or in today's NFL. So
what I would want out of tight end is a guy that knows how to block. So
yeah, I mean, all is like, man, it's. I hope we get positive news with him, because I mean, he's like the ideal tight end. He really is, and it sucks if it's that same ACL injury, because I mean, I would imagine that's incredibly tough to come back from. Like 2 things in a row, but I mean, I'm sure it has been done in the past, I believe. But
yeah, but I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. I just feel like maybe he was rushed back or something. It's not good.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, he played really well, and it seemed like everything was fine. But it's one of those things where you just can't predict. It's very unfortunate, and I'm just hoping for really good news with him, because he's, like we said, literally the ideal tight end. But I mean, it's great. Win over an AFC opponent. We finally got a win at home. Obviously, the Raiders isn't like the greatest team in the world, but
they're pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain degree too, the Bengals made them look really bad. I think most of us assumed that we were going to win this game. But I don't think most of us thought it was going to be like this, right? Like this was
but they had a lot of injuries, so
it doesn't matter. But
if you lose 3 guys on the offensive line,
but I just felt like the defensive was just so physical, and I think that was part of it. And then we exposed it, Like last week, I think most people kind of expect this performance with Hendricks, and maybe not 4 sacks. That's a lot to ask for any player. But, I thought maybe he had a chance for at least 2 against a backup, I think Fred Johnson last week. And it's like, he didn't do as well what you thought. But, I mean, this week they just took advantage of what they should. And I think that was a good sign. And I think with them winning and the Jets losing, and I mean, more specifically with the Bengals winning, I think with the calls that they're making, I think there probably are trades or I guess terms in place. And I would expect something to happen Tuesday morning.
With who?
I think there's rumors that the Giants or the Bengals are interested in the Giants defensive end, Azeez Ojulari, I think his name. And then I think we're linked to Lattimore too, the cornerback. So that's what I was saying before. Like, to me, if I had to pick between the two, I think we go for the corner. I just
I don't know.
if you're thinking long term and you get close to the playoffs or you make it to the playoffs and you're playing a lot of these playoff teams, especially the Ravens and I even say the Chiefs, like they got a lot of firepower. So like you have to have
but I mean,
pretty
it's kind of
good
the same thing.
above average corner.
If you can get a pass rush, it covers for lack of corners. I mean, to me, I think the pass rush is the biggest issue. I mean, we like that.
It is an issue. I agree.
When we played the Eagles, just like the complete lack of pressure the whole game.
Yeah.
I mean, no corner is going to hold up for that long. So you need to fix the pass rush. Now, it is what we saw today like a sign of the Bengals getting better, or is it a sign of the Raiders just being worse than the Eagles? But
I think it's a little bit of both because another thing I noticed was that in general, I know we gave up 1 sack, but I thought the offensive line had pretty good pockets. I thought Joe Burrow did a really good job of manipulating some of the pressure.
Yeah.
But I thought the Bengals offensive line looked pretty good throughout most of the game.
Yeah.
And I want to say again, the Raiders defensive line is pretty decent. All around. I think I was actually getting their defensive line mixed up with their offensive line as far as their grading, because I think their defensive line is pretty like steady across the board. Because the more I think about it, the guards for the Raiders were always kind of suspect.
Yeah, I mean their strength was on the ends. Although they did draft the number 1 center from the draft, right? The Jackson Power.
I did see that, but I gotta say one thing though.
Okay, say it
real quick. Hendrickson, that his last sack. I know it was against that backup, but do you remember seeing that?
Say that again.
Hendrickson's, I think it was his last sack where he just like completely just like
just destroyed the tackle.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I think that was like the second to last sack. I think
that was his last sack.
Okay, I'm thinking
because that's what caused the sack fumble, I believe.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking of another one where he completely wrecked that guy. So
no, I mean it was just he was a menace. Just hopefully we can keep that momentum, especially going into this next week.
Mm-hmm.
But no, and then in general, I see McKinley Jackson. I felt like he had a couple of good plays. I saw Murphy had a couple of good plays. I saw Osai have a couple of good plays. Mm-hmm. Hilton was playing pretty physical. There were a few moments where, again, it felt like our defense, especially with the first offensive series, or their first defensive series, I should say, where they kind of gave up some of those big plays, or explosive plays. And that's why it kind of hit me. It's like, man, I think if we get, to me, where we had a lot of success with our defense, we always had that one above average cornerback. And, I feel like Cam Taylor-Britt was kind of projected to be that, but I don't know. Like, he's kind of a boomer bust player. And I feel like that Dax Hill injury long-term was kind of a bigger thing than what we realized, because he was actually playing like an above average corner. And I feel like we need at least one of the sides to be solidified, especially if you're thinking long-term, especially going into the playoffs. Because I think that, to me, is going to be their Achilles heel when it comes to explosive plays. And it's just like, because you were saying it before, like sometimes you'll just see someone wide open. And then there was that play, it might have been on their, I don't think it was on their first offensive series. I think it was closer to halftime, but like the dude just does like a simple, it wasn't a post. It was maybe like
I remember,
post.
but like he got.
It's just like he got like 25 yards on like that. Like, come on, like we can't. It's like those plays you gotta like really stop, because you do that against the Ravens. Flowers, like I was watching that game, and like that dude's gonna take it to the house. Like, luckily we were able to contain it or whatever. But it's like you can't give up 25 yards like that. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think a corner, would hold more weight. And don't get me wrong, like I in a perfect world we get both, right? That would be huge. But I think if realistically, if they are going to do a trade, I think it's going to be, or for me, I went the corner.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to argue. I say they probably need to trade for both. It's
They
probably
do,
the
they
right
do,
answer.
but again, I know. There was just this one play where I was just specifically looking at Miles Murphy,
Mm-hmm.
and he just totally blew up the person with like a stiff arm or something, and like he almost got a sack. It was on a third down play, and I think it caused the punt because it forced Minshew to throw it kind of early, and he like threw it way too far down the field. But I was like, that was pretty impressive, and it's just like there's signs. I think Jenkins had a sack today.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like they are getting a little bit better, a little bit each
Yeah, I mean,
week by
McKinley
week. But
Jackson looked like what we saw when we were watching his college
yeah,
film.
I'm
where
excited about him
He looked like he was able to press the pocket a little bit, but it's just like it's hard for me to get excited about anything the defense did this game because
it's the
Raiders
Raiders.
are just.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
their
but here's the
team
thing:
is just.
I don't think the
shambles,
Ravens guards are that much better.
Yeah, but the Ravens are a well coached team.
They are,
I mean, like
but
the Raiders are a dumpster fire, man.
I like optimistically, and I'm hoping the Bengals were kind of playing it safe with Higgins and Orlando Brown Jr. because I'm hoping if they can play Thursday, that will make a big difference. Because even the first time we played the Ravens, we were missing some key players on the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Or were we? No. I think maybe they were back by then. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I think that was the game where everybody came back, but like it was like McKinley Jackson's first game.
Yeah, I mean,
think Jenkins came back. It
think
was like the first game where we had the top four defensive tackles that we thought we were going to have going into the season.
Yeah.
The Ravens game was the first game where all four of the guys were available.
And
But like
from what I remember,
left the game early this week as well.
oh, he did.
So, yeah,
I missed that. Dang.
they say like a rib injury or something, or maybe it was a hamstring injury. I hope it wasn't a hamstring. I hope it was ribs. But
oh my gosh. Yeah, that would be a pretty significant downgrade if he's out. But
yeah,
man, that's rough. I did not realize that. There was just so much going on, especially with injuries. More so on the Raiders side. And hopefully, those players are not seriously injured either. But yeah, and even across the NFL, I saw a lot of injuries. So, it's been a crazy week. But nonetheless, it was a good victory. The Bengals are 4-5 now. And then they go into the Ravens this all Thursday. So how are we going to do that?
I don't know.
I guess we could just do a reaction.
Do it Thursday after, or we could do Friday and just have it be a reaction, no preview. Or did you want to do preview?
No, I'm just saying we could just
Thursday?
do an instant reaction, no like prediction or anything.
Oh, no prediction. Okay. And then Friday do a prediction for the following week, or is that the bye week?
No,
No.
I think they play. There's one more team, I think.
Yeah. They
Is it the
play
Chargers?
at the Chargers, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Who's suddenly really good. So
We'll see.
okay, I like that attitude.
Well, I mean, I think it'll be a pretty competitive matchup, but nonetheless, we'll I think we'll just do like a reaction on Thursday. I think that works, right?
Okay.
Unless we can just, do you want to just do a quick prediction? Or do you just want to put it on the record now? What are you feeling? Do you think it's too early?
I think it's too early for us to predict.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Is there anything you want to say about this game?
No. Get the win. Hopefully they can get back to 500.
All right, Uday.